About as subtle as a cockroach crawling across a white rug, it's the DigiGods. Back and to the left, it's Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Oh, another fine listener-supplied intro. Corey, which one of our fine long-time listeners sent that?
That was sent in by Lorenzo Rafa. The end.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lorenzo. And thank you, Corey. Mark, I have been without Colcoa and without Film Week and without 10 visitors cluttering our house from spring break. I've had a little bit of time, so got a lot of documentaries to burn through this week. How you doing?
Huh?
How you doing?
I'm blowing my nose.
Good man. Thanks for sharing. But first, and we don't really have a whole lot of new movies this week, but we do have, we should start off with the one, and I know that you are a big, big fan of this franchise, and I know you are super happy that this is out in 4K Ultra HD. Before we shouldn't waste any time. We need to let you just get your emotions straight and express. Just let it all hang out. Let it all hang out.
I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out. I remember the screening because the screening in Hollywood.
I can't watch either of these films beginning to end. I can't.
They're both horrible. But the screening for the first one, normally all medias are pretty state affairs. You're sit and watch the movie, and you read a book before the movie starts, or you check your Kindle, or you look in your phone, and then the movie starts, you all go home. This one, every row included at least one gaggle of 3 or 4 women dressed up and giggling already, thinking that they were going to see this dangerous little fun little moment of girl bonding.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, let's go see 50 Shades of Grey. It'll be so much fun. And of course, the movie was terrible.
I just don't.
And the movie was so chaste. It was somehow they built it up to be this sexy thing, this R-rated sexy thing. It literally is what it's a Harlequin romance. It's terrible. It was the least sexiest film ever.
I read one paragraph that somebody posted on Facebook at some point from the book. It wasn't even bad writing. It was illiterate writing. It was like the kind of writing fourth graders write better than this. It was astonishing. I don't even know how this thing got published.
Well, I believe it was self-published. Was it published on Amazon or something? Or?
I don't know.
But you know what? But here, I'll tell you this.
It's horrendous.
I'll tell you this, though. That's good producing. Because you read that, and you thought, even though this is garbage writing, I think there's something in this. I can tap into something.
I could say the same thing about Forrest Gump. Have you ever tried to read Forrest Gump, the novel? It's unreadable. Now, it's not unreadable because it's badly written. It's unreadable because the whole thing is written in his voice, from his point of view, in that bizarre, quirky pidgin English. And it makes your brain cramp to try to read even a single sentence. So I don't know how anybody got through Forrest Gump and said, this wouldn't just make a good movie. This would make an Academy Award-winning Robert Zemeckis-directed Tom Hanks movie. I don't know how you get from point A to point B with what you read. So I do tip my hat to the producing in all these cases to be able to see that.
That's true. That's what producing is. So anyway, 50 Shades Darker is the sequel. They dumped the original director. But the problem is that even though you bring in James Foley, who directed Glengarry Glen Ross and I believe At Close Range and is a good director, at this point, the previous director already set the tone. You can't go back.
I know.
I mean,
that's it.
You establish the language, the visual language of the series.
It's like you just got a job directing, the Big Bang Theory. You can't take them out on the street and make like a new. You can't do it. You're there, and the show's style and its whole deal, and you do a 3-camera deal. Yeah, you can't reinvent the wheel if the wheel's been there for, a huge audience already. You can't do it.
I mean, this thing, it's it's just watered down.
Yeah.
It's like small little. It's not S&M. It's like a lowercase s and lowercase m. It's not. It's the same as the other one. It's just not even remotely sexy. I guess it feeds into this female fantasy of trying to change a guy and make him better. The mysterious, Gray, what's his deal? And she tries to kind of infiltrate his life and and make him a better person. I guess there's a certain fantasy in that, because the sexual fantasy doesn't really do anything unless you're literally the most, chaste, G-rated Amish person.
Yeah.
The sex in here means nothing. It's nothing. You can go online and get something. You can see stuff like that on the CW. And the thing is, it's not even so bad that it's good. If the film's just said, you know what, this thing sucks, well, let's just own it, like almost like a sexual Expendables film.
Yeah.
We're like, we know this is bad. Let's just own it and just go nuts. That'd be fine. But these things, they think they're real. They think this is a real movie. This is a real story to be told. It's terrible. So anyway, the Blu-ray's got a bunch of bonus features on it. The Ultra 4K is fine. It's very glossily shot. And if you think you're going to see some like hot smoking sex in 4K, this is not your movie. Even though it's rated R, and even though it's a little bit more R-rated than the previous one, it's really not much. So this thing is just terrible.
And then we got a little indie this week, which I've got to make mention of because this thing's so unhinged. It's called The Greasy Strangler. How's that for a title, The Greasy Strangler?
I like it.
This is one of those offbeat, weird, little, quirky, low-budget LA movies where some people had a camera and they may have had a permit, but they probably didn't, and they had some time to roam around LA and just wax weird. And that's what this is. This is a guy and his son who do this walking tour of disco in Los Angeles, and they wind up fighting over a woman who takes their tour, and meanwhile there's this creepy kind of monster maniac serial killery thing called the Greasy Strangler roaming around. It's just weird. It's shot in LA in a very strange way, and there are millions of these movies out there, but this is one that is just so completely unhinged. They don't even pull their punches. They just say, this is never going to find an audience, so why even bother? And as a result, it may find an audience. A few foreign language films real quickly before we dive into some television. We've got from Icarus Films, The Chef's Wife, which I'm going to recommend just because it has Karen Viard and Emmanuelle Devos, who are just wonderful French actresses, and apparently have never made a film together. I find that hard to believe, but anyway, it's just this is a wonderful, wonderful general French drama where it's not even about the plot. It's about watching these two wonderful actresses and their particular life problems, their certain family problems with their husband, and it's wonderful. It's just really wonderful. It's a wonderful clinic in acting. The nice thing about this too is it's directed by Anne Leni, who used to be an actress and is now a director. So check that out. That's from Distrib Films, and it's called The Chef's Wife. Directed by Anne Leni with Karen Viard and Emmanuelle Devos, and also a sporting performance by Rushdie Zem, who I always enjoy. And then we have a thing here called Alena, which is based on a graphic novel that I've obviously never heard of because there are just too many graphic novels out there. This is not superhero stuff. This is not really comic book stuff. This is kind of a teen horror thing, and it gets into the whole prep school, private school as a prison metaphor. And in this case, it is specifically about this girl named Alena who has been just horribly tormented by the rich girls at this private school, and then it gets kind of a little supernatural and weird. And I won't tell you exactly how it goes on, but anyway, it's chilling and it's well done, and probably I'm trying to think if it's feels a little bit Mike at a certain point. And then from Film Movement, we got an interesting little movie here called Apprentice by Bu Junfeng. This is from Film Movement. This was at in the Certain Regards section at the Cannes Film Festival, I think about a year ago. Cannes is starting very soon.
I know. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's going for a week. Because she got a free place to stay.
Oh, nice.
Free office to use.
Terrific.
She got hooked up.
Anyway, this is about a it takes place in the correctional world of Malaysia, and I think I'm supposed to say Malay, not Malaysian, but anyway, very interesting commentary on this by the director, which is really worth listening to. And then there's a cool short film that's Singaporean here, but the world of capital punishment in Malaysia is not like it is here. I mean, they still hang people, and they have apprentices to the hangman, and it feels very medieval, and it actually kind of is. And there's this to sort of get inside that world in a very chilling psychological way. This film really deserves some kudos. So this is a crazy co-production between Singapore and France and Hong Kong and Qatar and Germany, and I don't know how they put all the money together, but there just isn't money in Malaysia to actually make Malaysian films. So somehow they were able to cull money together from all these different countries in Europe and Asia and even the Middle East, and they made this film. And Bu Feng, good for him, he got it in a certain regard. So it's quite provocative and very disturbing. And then we got a really cool box set from Arrow, and we got some other Arrow stuff again to talk about later. Last week we talked about the Donnie Darko box set. This actually rivals it, believe it or not.
What?
It's not one film, but it's many films. And this is, if you're not familiar with Kiju Yoshida, as I was not, Yoshida is quite an interesting Japanese director. A contemporary of Nagisa Oshima and a lot of those other kind of late-stage Japanese New Wave directors. And he really has it's a fascinating style, the way he makes his movies. The box set is called Love Plus Anarchism, and includes films like Eros Plus Massacre and Heroic Purgatory, and movies that I had never heard of, never seen before. I can't say that these are movies that I want to watch a lot, but he's a really aggressive stylist, and really somebody who's worth discovering, because he was never on my radar with any of the great New Wave directors of the period. And so anyway, this is an interesting box set for those who may want to see his stuff, discover his stuff. It's all on Blu-ray from Arrow, from the Arrow Academy line. Let's say that. Let's be very clear about that. The Arrow Academy line. Maybe the most interesting film here actually is called Coup d'Etat. In any case, the filmmaker is Kiju Yoshida. Love Plus Anarchism box set from Arrow Academy. I applaud them, because I don't, that you have to kind of work hard to develop an audience for this. So I hope this finds an audience. All right, let's talk about some TV, Mark.
Okay, let's do that. It's all Acorn stuff. You love this crap.
No, it's just this one. This one, Rake. This is Rake, Series 1.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only Acorn thing here. The Rake Series 1 with the great Richard Roxburgh, who just doesn't age. I don't know what his game is, but he continues to be absolutely amazing. This is an Australian comedy, kind of a drama, kind of a comedy. It's also got Hugo Weaving in it, and the absolutely wonderful and fantastic Rachel Griffiths. Oh, and by the way, Rachel Ward is one of the directors on this. Isn't that interesting?
Rachel Ward?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Rachel Ward and Peter Duncan. I mean, it's a good show. Rake Series 1. It's like all those British barrister shows. It's a courtroom thing. It's a legal thing, but it's not like the American legal thing. It's more like I guess it's like an Australian Ally McBeal by way of what's that British series that has the with the barrister?
Only Horses and Beer.
That's the one. Exactly.
What's it
That's
called?
exactly it. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's got some title like that. Anyway, check it out. Sam Neill, a lot of great talent here. Noah Taylor looks kind of weird in this thing, but Rake Series 1, good. It's Ally McBealish. That's all I can tell you. It's Ally McBealish with Australian accents.
Wait, there's an HBO show called Divorce with Sarah Jessica Parker and Hayden Church.
Oh, I heard about this.
This was supposed to be, easily billed as the flip side to Sex and the City, right?
Yeah.
So you've got this woman played by Parker who decides subtly that she wants to end her 10-year marriage to Thomas Hayden Church, but it can be difficult to suddenly decide you want to get divorced and start anew.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot of truth here. There's some laugh out loud stuff, but I think ultimately this not really gonna grab the zeitgeist the way that Sex and the City did. Yeah. So this thing is kind of just
lies there.
Yeah, it's just kind of scuffling along.
All right. We got three minor titles here. I'll make mention of real quickly. Shark Week, Shark and Awe Collection. This is a Walmart exclusive, Mark.
What?
Can't get this anywhere else. If you want Shark Week, Shark and Awe, you got to go to Walmart. I know. You're going to be driving all over the city looking desperately to see where, how, where, who. This is 32 episodes of Shark Week. I have never understood why this is a thing, but I guess...
Because it's awesome.
I guess.
It's sharks. It's weeks.
Whatever. That's from Discovery. And then we also have Bob Hope Salutes the Troops. This is 3 DVDs featuring Bob Hope doing USO performances. Some of it better than others. Some of it is not really that interesting. It's more interesting to see who he brings out Pointer Sisters are in this, which is kind of unexpected. Ann Jillian, I'd forgotten Ann Jillian was even a thing. Remember Ann Jillian?
Yeah.
My goodness. Anyway,
watching this is like watching those old Friars Club roasts.
It is, exactly.
Like they bring up these names from the 70s that you vaguely remember as the tiniest kid.
It's a blast from the past. So it's more kitsch than anything else. Bob Hope and USO and a lot of Rosie Greer is in this as well. So that's fun. But 3 DVDs is a lot. You're not going to sit there and watch all 3 DVDs of this thing. You put it on in the background during a party. And then as long as we're talking about Shark Week, we have another Walmart exclusive, Mark. Beaches. Oh, no. I know you're thinking, Beaches, the Gary Marshall movie with Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey? No. You wish. No. This is the new television version with Nia Long and Idina Menzel. Did I say Idina Menzel? I'm sorry. I meant Madame Fladimsdim.
Yeah, wait, what did he say?
I can't remember. It was just the greatest moment in Academy Awards history. And now to sing the Oscar-nominated song from Frozen, in Dimblims to Dumbledum.
Let me see if I can look that up real quick.
Engelbert Humperdinck. It's hysterical. I don't know why. This was a Lifetime production, and it's not very good. And it makes me sad to say that because it's directed by Allison Anders, who is so monumentally talented.
The wickedly talented, one and only Dazzy.
Wait, do we need to hear that again?
What did he say?
Wait. Don't stop the recording.
I'm not.
Please welcome the wickedly talented, one and only Dazzy.
Adele Dazeem, ladies and gentlemen. Adele Dazeem.
Adele Dazeem. How do you get Adele Dazeem out of that? Idina Menzel. I don't even understand. He might as well have just said Christopher Walken. It would have been easier. I don't. Anyway, so this is a Lifetime production of Beaches. It's a remake. Don't get me wrong. I think Idina Menzel is great. I think Nia Long is great. Mary Agnes Donahue, who wrote the original script, is great, and that's the basis of this more so than the novel. I think Allison Anders is amazing. I love Allison Anders. Grace in My Heart should have been nominated for tons of Oscars, and she should have been nominated for Best Director. She is now sentenced to making TV movies, and it is so tragic to me. But this doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and I wish it did. I really wish it did, but it doesn't. Anyway.
Wait, the Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Just when season 4, just when it looked like the show was about to slip into kind of autopilot and maybe just have a slow descent into cancellation. Yeah. This season's good. It's a good season. It's a dark show. A pretty brave show. They do a lot of stuff about racism and economic disparity. There's definitely room for that kind of stuff, along with kind of the crazy, humor.
Yeah.
So, this thing's better than ever. Season 4, Orange is the New Black. It's on Blu-ray. And there's a gag reel, set tour, some commentary. So if you like the show and you're a collector, I would definitely check out Orange is the New Black. Season 4.
Quatre. There you go. You're getting your French on.
Damn right.
Good man. Animal Kingdom, complete first season. This is a TNT series based on the amazing movie, which we all love. We love Animal Kingdom, the movie. And they went and actually somehow looked at that movie and said, even though there's closure in that movie, I mean, I don't know how you sort of look at that movie and think, let's make this into a series. But they did. And I want to say it kind of works. It's on its way to working. I mean, it's no longer set in Australia. It's now set in Southern California. And, it's the same general premise. You got, the 17-year-old kid, his mom dies of an overdose. And so he goes, now he moves in with his evil crime lord grandmother and all the horrible relatives. And it's much more rednecky than it is outbacky. It's so you can tell that they've sort of adapted the structure.
I'd rather watch the movie again.
Yeah, I would too. But that said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where they take this. It shows promise. It's got some growing pains. It's kind of trying to sort of figure out where it's going to go. But when you watch it, you can sort of see what they're aiming for. And Ellen Barkin, as the matriarch of this clan, is very, very good. It's a very different take on the character, as you would expect it to be. But I'll give them room to grow. It's the first season. It's a little awkward, but TNT takes chances on things, and let's give them some time. And that's on Blu-ray with Ultraviolet.
Wade, we have on DVD the 4400, the complete series. This is that show that kind of muddled along for 4 seasons. It's about this comet that comes to Earth, and when it arrives, 4,400 people go missing, and then they come back, and some have been missing for years, and some have been missing for months. And who are these people, and why can't they remember where they were? Why can't they remember where they went? And so, so that's what it's about. So there's literally 4,400 stories they could have told during the course of this series. But it's got Peter Coyote in it, and we always like to see him. He, of course, from E.T. And this thing was pretty good. It kind of, it's like the other show, it kind of scuffled along a little bit. But 42 episodes on 10 discs. You've got to be a real 4,400 head to check this out. But there's audio commentaries on some of the episodes, deleted scenes. So if you're a fan of the show, you got to get it. The 4,400 is, to me, it's not worth. I mean, if you watch a handful of these episodes, you'll get it. It doesn't have that Damon Lindelof, J.J. Abrams thing where it's constantly just intriguing you big time and like a primetime Twilight Zone soap opera. It's not quite that polished, but 4 seasons is not a bad run nowadays.
All right, Mark, I'm going to burn through a whole lot of PBS right now. I had PBS just sitting on the TV.
Great, I'll
all
check
week.
the news.
Yeah. So here we go. This is what we got from PBS. It's a big chunk of wonderful. On Blu-ray, the only Blu-ray of PBS is Yosemite, which is an installment of nature that just demands to be on Blu-ray.
It's pronounced
gorgeous.
Yosemite.
I'm sure it is. This is gorgeous. If you've never been to Yosemite, you will feel as if you have just from watching this. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Great. You don't even put the sound down. This doesn't even have to have the sound on. Yosemite is so gorgeous. I am ashamed to admit, even though it's relatively close, I've never been there. And but I've seen all of the Ansel Adams photographs, so this definitely complements all that. It is gorgeous, just wonderful. It's an hour long. It should be twice as long. It could be 3 times as long. You'd still have a great time. And if you turn up the sound, it's beautiful. 5.1. It's great. Yosemite, one of the great treasures of America. And then on Blu-ray, we've got 4 PBS documentaries that deal with issues of current political import. We have the first 2 are both Frontlines, and one is Divided States of America, which talks about kind of goes back into the Obama administration and comes up into the early stages of the Trump administration and talks about just how divided the country is and why, and the media and populism, and it's a typically awesome Frontline. And then the other Frontline, which complements it, is Trump's Road to the White House. I know you love that picture. There he is wearing his Make a Great hat and with the gesture and the whole thing. By the way, the idea of doing a rally to compete with the Correspondents' Dinner, kind of an interesting thing.
But he's all about misdirect.
I know. That's
the
it.
thing.
That's what it is. I know.
You
It's
know?
just every week is I've sort of stopped paying attention because it's just all too like I know people who love Trump and I know people who hate Trump, and I want to continue to have dinner with all my friends, so I just don't even broach the subject anymore. But this is really interesting. Trump's road to the White House. It is extremely. These are the people who do the choice documentaries that they do every 4 years, and this is really, really incredibly insightful, and it gets into a lot of kind of gets into the weeds in ways that no other media outlets have, and that's what Frontline does so well. So I do recommend that. I also recommend The Talk, Race in America. This is a standalone doc from WNET 13, who does all kinds of great work for PBS. And, this has been a subject in America for a half a century now, if not longer, ever since the Civil Rights era, and certainly substantially before that. And it is really, really interesting, and they put a lot of voices in this, and it doesn't come to any conclusions, but it certainly contributes to the conversation, as does John Lewis Get in the Way, which is a profile of the great civil rights legend John Lewis, who is still in Congress, and who was one of the seminal figures in the civil rights movement, and who has become somewhat controversial since. Some people accuse him of becoming more of a mainstream establishment politician than a conscientious activist. Some people say his time has come and gone. So others say he's still holding up his legacy. All of that is covered here. And there are interviews here that I have never seen before, that go back decades. So it's really, really interesting. And then the rest of the PBS stuff. We've got The Great British Baking Show. You ever seen that, Mark?
I have not, but I'm intrigued.
3 seasons.
3 seasons.
3 seasons. Do you want these? Because you can make these, and I want you to make them for me.
Well, not all of them.
Oh my gosh,
the macarons here. Those are very delicate.
There are great desserts and all kinds of fun things there.
You know what? Maybe if they have a book, maybe I'll just get the book. Let me see this. I'm going to check right now. May's a what's it called? Great British
Baking Show. The British have the best cooking shows. They really do. The best, just simply the best. I am not a baker. I can cook. As they say, cooking is art and baking is chemistry. And I was never good at chemistry. You have to get everything just right. It can't just be a dash and a pinch. It has to be precise.
Yes, it does.
It's like super precise. Everything has to be absolutely spot on. And the minutes, you can't just say, well, put it into, set it to around 400, 425, leave it in for, 10 or 12 minutes until the thing browns. No, you can't do that.
Because,
it's gotta be spot on.
Because cooking is all about hiding your mistakes.
Yes.
Like you cook, you're like, this is not salt, throw some salt in. And then, this is delicious. Of course, you saved it to the last minute by throwing some salt in.
Can't do that with baking.
No.
Baking's unforgiving.
That's true.
If you make the slightest mistake, it screws up. So anyway, that's why I loved watching these. It's a lot of fun, but it's so intimidating. So intimidating. I mean, especially like tarts. I never realized how difficult tarts are to make.
What about the crust or just no?
Just the whole thing because like tarts are really, it's like with a cake you're like, oh well, you can't mess it or it'll fall. Everyone's always afraid that the cake will fall, that it has to rise. And tarts, oh well, a tart, no, tart you have to if it cooks just wrong, things have to marry. Right, they have to marry. That's the cooking.
Well, you know what? That's why, like, what is it called?
Schmutzy, ice cream, eggs.
No, it's. You know what? I think I'm getting.
Cleveland.
I think I'm getting sick. I think I'm getting Alzheimer's. I can't remember I can't remember things anymore.
I know. I can't either.
I really can't.
I can't either.
It's a custardy thing.
I am so sorry, Fred.
It's like.
See that? See what I did? See what I did there?
It's a custardy thing.
Yeah.
What is it? Creme brulee.
Creme brulee. Okay.
Now with creme brulee, if the creme brulee is not going to come together,
yeah,
I could literally keep the creme brulee in the oven for 17 hours and it will not come together. It will not congeal.
Okay.
And it's annoying, and I don't know how to stop it. So yes, sometimes when you bake, if you mess it up, you cannot fix it.
It's too bad. All right, so we got some Nova here too. 3 interesting Novas. In particular, Super Tunnel, which is the Crossrail. It's about building the Crossrail, which is this enormous tunnel project that's going underneath London, and it's just it's ridiculously expensive, and it's an insane piece of engineering. And I didn't even know this was a thing, but it's really it's quite a monument to British engineering. I got to say that. Treasures of the Earth, Power, Gems, and Metals. This gets into what it obviously is all about, which is what's underneath the earth, what's in the mountains, what are the things that we go and dig up and mine for and drill for that sustain civilization. Super interesting. There's also Search for the Super Battery. I really wish they would get on with it. Nothing bugs me more than battery power technology. It's just so deficient and backwards. And this is talking about what's necessary for us to get to that breakthrough in battery technology. We were still basically working with 100-year-old battery technology, and there's going to be a breakthrough where you can get to a battery that doesn't lose power.
No, planned obsolescence will never happen.
But you want a battery that doesn't lose power over time. You know what I'm saying? Where like most batteries today, you charge if it's rechargeable. Even in a car, like with your Tesla, you'll get 300 miles on a charge, and then over time you'll eventually get to like 250 miles on a charge, and by the time you're down to about 50 miles on a charge, you're really cursing, and now you have to spend $12,000 on a new battery. Might as well buy a new car.
Never happen.
And so this is we want to get to the super battery, new technology that doesn't get deficient over time, will endlessly recharge, and will hold a charge for a very very long period of time.
You know what? They can make that tomorrow.
You think?
Of course.
They need to. I need those batteries. Duracell, get on that. Let's hang on a second. I'm gonna jump ahead here just for a moment. Let me hold on. There are two more novas I'm going to add to this. School of the Future, which is about obviously education. How you adapt education for our changing world. Not a great nova, but an interesting one if you have kids, and I do, and my daughter's going to start kindergarten next year, and I'm terrified about that. And then this is kind of weird and lame, but somehow cute. The Origami Revolution. I don't quite buy the premise of this thing, but if you like folding paper, this basically tells you that you are key to changing the world. That like origami is part of our new information revolution, and that origami is like plays a part. I don't really buy it. The whole idea that there's like this algorithm. It's a very peculiar premise, but I don't quite buy it. Anyway, Secrets of the Dead is another great series. Nero's Sunken City, Van Gogh's Ear, and Leonardo, the Man Who Saved Science, which is all about Leonardo da Vinci. All of them are really, really great. Secrets of the Dead continues to be a really, really good show. Plants Behaving Badly, which is just about weird plants that do things that plants really shouldn't do, like, shopping at Target.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. Then Wild Weather, it should have been on Blu-ray. This is all about extreme weather conditions. A lot of great photography here. Would have been better on Blu-ray. Really, really far-reaching stuff that they went, tornadoes and hurricanes and dust storms and all kinds of fun stuff. And then the last two, one is a Frontline, one is an American Experience. These are both about, conflict in our time, one of them foreign and one of them domestic. Ruby Ridge is an American Experience documentary that is all about that 1992 catastrophe in August when the showdown at Ruby Ridge happened, and that changed a lot in American society. It changed a lot of laws. It changed the way that people deal with barricaded fugitives and the like. It's a very, very disturbing revisitation of a particular point in American history. By the way, what we didn't talk about on last week's show, it's the 25th anniversary of the LA riots.
I
this
know.
Month.
There was a great documentary on...
There are two. I talked about one of them on Film Week a week ago, which is LA 92, and then there's the John Ridley doc, which is also out around the same time, Let It Fall. And John Ridley's is mostly interviews and archival footage, and LA 92 is all archival footage, and it's just gripping and riveting and really disturbing.
Well, that one sounds like it's like the O.J. Simpson doc.
It is. It's very much. It's kind of a partner film because it connects it to the Watts riots, which were from 1965, right? So it's here. It's a generation separating these almost identical incidents, and it's very upsetting. It really is. You wonder, have we still learned nothing? And the weird thing.
Well, the good news is we have a black president. We had a black president. The bad news is we've still learned nothing.
Yeah, and the weird thing for watching LA 92 and the subject of the riots, for me, I wasn't even here. I was in Paris when the riots broke out. I was on my way to Cannes for the first time. And, I'd been cavorting around Paris. I was staying with a friend in Paris for a few days, very sweet old lady, old friend of the family's. And I got back to her place, and she said, "Oh, things are happening." And I was like, "Okay, what? Like, what? There's like it rained. What's happening in LA?" And we turned the TV on, and I was like, "Oh, whoa!" And then I remembered, the trial.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Oh no!" And then I found out. I called my mother, who was very calm, and she just said, "Oh yeah, it's fine. We're okay. I'm watching some smoke."
You guys are up on a hill in Malibu.
Well, but she's watching she says, "I'm looking in the distance. I see some smoke plumes." I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't make me feel better." But she lived through World War II. This is all. Oh yeah, I hear the Russian guns. I think I see some artillery. None of it phases her. None of it phased her. Right. She was unimpeachable, unflappable. That's the word, unflappable.
Was she the unsinkable Molly Brown?
She was. Not Molly Brown, but she was just generally unsinkable.
Why have you not given me the Cookies of Life recipe yet? The Cookies of Life recipe needs to be mine.
Yes. I will dig that up today.
You have promised me that.
I know. I got to dig up the recipe.
Wade's mother made the best. Wade's mother made the. I remember. So Wade's mother made the best cookies. I used to call them Cookies of Life. And whenever I would come over to Wade's place, Wade's mother would take out.
She loved it.
She would take out a little jar of these cookies and slam them down in front of my face and say, "Here."
Yeah.
And she knew that by the end, I would eat 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. I don't care. Yeah. They're great.
She loved it.
I want the Cookies of Life to live on through me, but you will not allow it.
Yeah, well, I have to find it. I've got so much stuff packed up in the garage. I still haven't gotten through it all. Anyway, Frontline documentary, Battle for Iraq, which also includes a little bit on hunting ISIS, which is a secondary subsidiary piece to this, but it's like half the running time. Obviously, this gets into all of the stuff that is still front and center, and none of it has changed, although things are changing, I guess, incrementally, but it has not changed to any substantial degree. It continues to be very, very much in our news. ISIS, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of that stuff. And this gets into the weeds and tries to sort of unravel why and who and what. It's fairly all encompassing, probably a little too short, but still very, very moving. Battle for Iraq from Frontline. All right, that's it for these. Mark, we can talk about some other docs, or we can go into anime, because I know there's one anime that you want to talk about.
Am I supposed to be, oh my God, Wade, thank you so much.
Well, no, I'm
not going to do it.
Okay.
Although I did very much love the Red Turtle.
I thought you went crazy for this. Weren't you nuts for this? Okay.
Though, did you not like it?
I like it very much, but I think the other one, the one we gave the award to, is a better film.
Which one?
Oh gosh, one My Note Life thing. What was it called? I can't remember.
It wasn't the zucchini thing.
No, it wasn't the zucchini. It's the other anime. It's the other anime.
It was Your Name?
Your Name. Thank you. Yeah, Your Name. I don't know why I can't remember that title.
Because
I'm going totally senile.
Because you're like me. We're goddamn.
Your Name is a better film, I think. But this is still a really great film.
You know what? I think this thing is just exquisite. It's there's no dialogue. All you've got is the sound of water and wind and birds and a score, and that is it. And it's about you get these very simple, beautifully rendered images of a young castaway living out his entire life on a desert island. And it's just crazy. It's just really, really affecting. And the only other character in the film, basically, is this red turtle. And it's just lavish, and the imagery is stunning. And there's all sorts of interpretations you could possibly make from this thing. So I just thought it was really just an interesting, fascinating, provocative sort of vessel for whatever you want the film to mean. So I loved it. The Red Turtle. It was nominated for an Oscar, Best Animated Film.
Very deservedly, too.
Very deservedly, too. Yeah. And we considered it very strongly, as Wade just said, for the LAFCA Award, but we gave it to Your Name, which is also very good.
And, you know, they sent us a big old press kit announcing the theatrical release of Your Name with the dubbed version. I mean, it's really glossy. Like Funimation really, really went to town. And right across the top of that big old fancy press kit, LA Film Critics.
Yay!
They made a big fuss out of it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting anime that's finally kind of mainstreaming, and the Red Turtle is really just it's so all that studio, you know, it's Ghibli or Ghibli.
I always say Ghibli because Ghibli sounds like giblets.
I think it is Ghibli. It's we always get corrected by
Charles Solomon.
No, by our Japanese listeners.
Oh.
We've got a few, and they're always correcting. They're always sending.
See, I
emails.
can't say Ghibli because it sounds like giblets, and giblets is a silly word.
I think you're supposed to say Ghibli. It sounds. I know, it's hard. It doesn't spill off the tongue. But in any case, Red Turtle, terrific movie, great movie. All right, a few other anime things to plow through here. Ocean Waves is a Tomomi Mochizuki film. This is also Studio Ghibli. And it is really quite delightful. Like if John Hughes had made anime, this is probably what he would have done. Something like this. It's a very simple drama about a couple of guys going back to school, and then there's a transfer student from Tokyo who changes their lives, and you know, it's just where these relationships go. And it's well written and beautifully animated and very sensitively made, and it's great. And it has a short film about there's a really cute short film here about what it's like at Studio Ghibli, which is terrific. So that's great. Ocean Waves, very sweet film, really nice. And then much more kind of traditional anime. We got a Mobile Suit Gundam here. We got a bunch of Gundam. We've got all this stuff out. So let me try to. Okay, so here we go. So we've got Mobile Suit Gundam. This is the 8th MS Team OVA series. Now, for those who've sometimes asked us, OVA means there are episodes here that were never televised. They're only available on Blu-ray and DVD. So this is 12 episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam, the 08th MS Team OVA series, and it also includes the movie Miller's Report. This is some of the more entertaining Gundam stuff. I don't try to make sense of it anymore. I just watch the big robot suits just go haywire and blow things up, and people fight, and hair flails, and it's terrific. Then we also have Turn a Gundam. We got a couple of these actually. Set 1 and 2 of it's a different Gundam series. This is episodes 1 through 25 on one set, and then 26 through 50 on the other. And this is the V Gundam Turn a Gundam series, which is more the same. And then Mobile Suit Gundam F91, which is what I want to kind of wrap up with here on the Gundam stuff, which is very different animation from the rest of the stuff. It's very interesting. It's very aggressive. It's more stylized, and it makes it more interesting. Makes it all fresh. And this even has an English commentary track on it. So that is super, super cool. Mobile Suit Gundam F91, some of the most interesting anime artwork that I've seen in a long time, especially on something like an established concept in an established universe.
Now, the mobile suit, is it a bespoke suit that is tailored to you specifically? Do you wear a tie or a cravat or a bow tie with this suit? Can I wear it to weddings and bar mitzvahs?
Ascot. You have to wear it with an ascot.
Interesting.
Yes, exactly. And then let's see. Here we go. Got another Pokemon. We got Pokemon Volcanion Mechanical Marvel. Volcanion, this is Pokemon the movie, Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel. I did not watch a single solitary second of this, so I'm just going to make mention of it because I can't watch Pokemon anymore. Really, it grates on me. But this is out there for all those Pokemon fans. And then from the same people, Viz, I did watch Sailor Moon R, the movie, because I like Sailor Moon, because I love all these pixie girls with the long hair and the long legs and the short skirts, and they're all cute, and they have, they're like not quite, they're otherworldly, and they're adorable, and they have big eyes, and I just like the animation because I'm a sick human being. So Sailor Moon and the Sailor Guardians, are once again saving Earth, and it's a lot of fun. Everything Sailor Moon is kind of it's fetishistic-y, but it's enjoyable in a very chaste way, and I like that it splits that difference. And then let me see, I'm gonna do last two animes here. Undefeated Bahamut Chronicle. This is a complete collection, 12 episodes on 2 discs from Sentai. This is more cyberpunk stuff. The Prince versus Princess showdown in this kind of is part of settling up the Arcadia Empire. And then lastly, Gatchaman 2. Gatchaman, complete collection from Sentai. Classic anime that was adapted here at a certain point. I think it was Battle for the Planets is what Gatchaman was turned into here. This is 52 episodes in the original Gatchaman 2 series. And most of this has never been seen here, and it's really great, Japanese anime superhero stuff. It's like sci-fi superhero. It's great. It's really a lot of fun, and this is from the 80s, I believe. This was originally put together. So in any case, Gatchaman 2, good animation, good storytelling, a lot of fun. All right, Mark. Next, let's go back to some of these docs.
Terrific doc about Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah,
come on, he's the best. This is Mifune: The Last Samurai, narrated by Keanu Reeves, who is probably the person I would least want to narrate a documentary, but somehow they made his voice sound.
Yeah.
Whoa, Toshiro is awesome. Anyway, Toshiro Mifune, he obviously he made 16 films with Kurosawa, including some of his great Seven Samurai and Rashomon. And he is great. He was there during like the golden age of Japanese cinema. It was all about Toshiro Mifune, and I just love this guy. He is so cool and so handsome, and he's just like the ultimate samurai character. And this is a great documentary. It was done by a guy who won an Oscar named Stephen Okazaki. And so, And by the way, not all of the collaborations with Kurosawa were samurai films. He did.
Oh yeah, no,
he did.
not
I
at
mean,
all.
High and Low is one of my favorite Kurosawa films. That's an urban
Some of his
story
best
based
acting.
on an American crime novel, actually. High and Low. So good stuff. So if you don't know Toshiro Mifune, or even if you do, I would definitely check out The Last Samurai.
A couple of the most acclaimed docs from last year. I Am Not Your Negro was Oscar nominated. I thought should have probably won, but did not win.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Did you not like this?
Obviously, I'm sympathetic to its message, but I felt muddled to me. It felt like it wasn't quite making its point clearly to me.
For those who don't know, James Baldwin, extremely legendary and famous civil rights leader and a great thinker. More than anything, was friends with Malcolm X and with Martin Luther King, sort of bridged the philosophical divide, and the televised interviews with James Baldwin are really extraordinary. I mean, his discussions of race and the problems of race at the time, they go to a place that others would not and could not, and extremely fascinating philosophical dissection of a lot of these problems, and a wonderful thinker. His language is what narrates the film. Samuel Jackson reading a lot of his words, but then also his own words in his own recordings at other parts of the film. It's more of a sort of a biographical essay. Now, what it doesn't do is it doesn't get into the fact that James Baldwin was also gay, which is a huge part of who he was.
That bothered me a little bit. It
bothered me initially, but I kind of grew to accept it because I thought, well, if you're going to make him, it's essentially the focus here is civil rights. And if you get into the issue of his sexuality, then you're opening up a whole new documentary. You sort of can't cross those two things together. And if you make mention of it, then you're begging a whole lot of questions that this doc doesn't have the time or the latitude to get into. So, I mean, it's almost a no-win scenario. So but what it does do, I think it does extremely well. And, directed by Raoul Peck, who does a great job, written by James Baldwin. I think it's a terrific film. I really do. It's real worth watching in any case.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
If people who are not familiar with James Baldwin will definitely
Seminal figure.
get a very strong sense of who he was, what he believed in based on this film.
And then also one of the most acclaimed docs of last year is director Otto Bell's The Eagle Huntress, which is probably my overall favorite doc of the year. Eagle Huntress is amazing. The photography alone is amazing. They go to the Mongolian part of Kazakhstan, because Mongolia, the Mongolian people don't just live in Mongolia. There's a part of China that's Mongolian, and the Mongolian people ethnically and tribally sort of span a lot of different countries other than Mongolia. So this is in Mongolian Kazakhstan. And there's an ancient tradition there where you use eagles to hunt. You go and if you're an eagle hunter, you capture an eagle when you're very young, and your father or your grandfather or your forebears who've for hundreds of years have mastered this. You capture a wild eagle, and then you train that eagle, and that eagle becomes loyal to you. And then when the winter comes around, you go out in the snow and you hunt rodents and foxes and whatever else with that eagle, and that eagle will catch your prey, and you use the fur and the meat. I mean, for hundreds of years, this is how these people have lived, and it's how they still live. But it's always men. This is about a girl who decides, I want to be an eagle huntress. And her dad is supportive, and her family is supportive, and her grandfather is supportive, but all the old elders, not so supportive. Women aren't supposed to hunt with eagles. And, of course, there's an eagle hunting competition that you go to, and you got to train your eagle to do this and that and the other thing. Anyway, all of that is about this 13-year-old girl who has decided she is going to do what previously only men were supposed to do. This brought me to tears. It really did. And maybe it's the father-daughter thing. Maybe I project myself into all of that. But it brought me to tears. And the fact that they go to this in the middle of nowhere place to tell this incredible story.
Well, that's the thing. When I was watching it, and the documentary is terrific. When I was watching, I was thinking to myself, how do they find these stories? They went to just the deepest, darkest corner of nowhere to find this incredible story. Who found this story?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who found these people? How did that story get back to some goat farmer who then got it back to some store owner who then got it back to some filmmaker?
And they're like attaching GoPros to the eagles at some points. I mean, there are moments where you go, wait a minute, I'm on the head of the eagle. I'm flying. It's kind of freaky when they do that.
Stupid eagle.
It's pretty good. It's cool. So anyway, yeah. It's a great film, Eagle Huntress. I just love that movie. Gary Numan, Android in La La Land.
In my car. I loved that song when I was a kid.
That was the best one.
Cars.
Yeah. Gary Numan, Android in La La Land.
I wonder whether this was called something different until La La Land came out, and then they changed the name.
Great question. Well, anyway, this is a great documentary from First Run Features that looks at Gary Numan looking back on his life and certain handicaps and issues that he had to get past. I will not reveal them specifically. His family. It's really you're taking a really crucial artist who is largely forgotten in this day and age.
Well,
but
he's pretty much a one-hit wonder is the problem.
But he's an influence, and they talk about that here, how despite that one-hit wonder, he has become a huge influence, and his legacy is really represented more in those who cite him as an influence and who have carried his torch. But you realize what an amazing guy and what an amazing life. It's a good doc. Gary Numan, Android in La La Land. I love that title. And then another amazing story, An American Conscience, the Reinhold Niebuhr story. Are you familiar with Reinhold Niebuhr, Mark?
Oh, yeah, he was Mr. and Mrs. Niebuhr's kid.
Yeah, right. I had a feeling you were going to say that. So Reinhold Niebuhr is the guy who wrote the Serenity Prayer. Okay.
Oh,
bless me to accept the things that I can't change and all that. Yeah.
The things I can't, whatever.
Yeah, that thing, which I love, which is probably quoted more than anybody else ever. And this gets into the man behind the quote, and it's very, very touching and very, very moving, and a lot of amazing interviews. And they get academics and prominent political figures and people that it'll blow your mind. Like a lot of these docs, this is a little too short. I think it's 60 minutes. It could probably go for another 15 You know, you could get into more stuff, but it's really interesting to find out who this guy was and how he kind of rose to prominence. It's a good movie.
His prayer is huge in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, it is.
In AA, that's what they say.
For sure. And here, last two. You know what? Hold on. We got Let's do just a few more docs here. Here I'll do these two. Air Warriors season 1 is all. It's this is a Smithsonian Channel show that I really just enjoy because I like planes and I know a lot of pilots and helicopters and planes and anything aerial and great aerial footage and seeing military guys jump into these things and just go for broke. I've seen The Right Stuff too many times. What can I say? I was listening to the music on the way over here, by the way. And this is the entire first season. It's about 2.5 hours worth of material, and it's nicely put together. It's a fun show, and it's one of the better things on the Smithsonian Channel. And Mark, do you have a great affection for Banksy?
No, I do not.
Okay.
But I like this documentary, Saving Banksy. And what's interesting about the documentary is not that it is about Banksy, which is great, but it presents this interesting moral quandary. It's about this guy who's trying to save one of the paintings, one of the paintings from the street artist, from being destroyed and even being sold at auction. And it kind of gets into this very interesting discussion about if you owned a painting that was worth a lot of money, but the artist doesn't want it to be sold. The artist thinks it should be seen by the masses, or the artist thinks it should be on a brick wall for everybody to look at. The artist doesn't think it should be on somebody's wall for nobody to ever see.
Yeah.
What if the artist doesn't want his painting sold
True.
and you own it? Should you give it up? Should you continue to own it? Should you not care what the artist thinks? So there's a lot of provocative, fascinating little questions being asked in this movie. I liked it almost as much as Exit Through the Gift Shop, which I liked very much. So I would definitely recommend, whether you like Banksy or not, it still asks some very interesting questions about the nature of art and ownership of art, Saving Banksy.
And just about any documentary I see these days about the Arab-Israeli conflict is so depressing to me because it looks to be increasingly impossible to resolve. But they are all illuminating in some way, and I guess there's something medicinal in that. The Ruins of Lifta, from First Run Features as well, is another one of these. Lifta is the last village, the last remaining Arab village, and it's all in ruins. It's not an active village, but it is the last remnants of an Arab village from the 1948 Arab-Israeli War that has not been just demolished and replaced with something else. So it has certain significance culturally and archaeologically and sociologically for the Palestinian people. But there are Israeli developers who want to take this thing and turn it into, a development. I mean, we need housing, we need people, we want to make this a beautiful place. And that proposal creates a little mini conflict. And there are Israelis who are on the Palestinian side of this and saying, this should not happen. This is an offense, and these are our brothers and sisters. And this just dives headfirst into it. It's 77 minutes long, and it is intense from beginning to end. And it is, you realize how what would otherwise be just a sort of simple local development dispute really has broad and far-reaching geopolitical consequences. And it's a tough film to watch, but it's an important film to watch. The Ruins of Lifta.
I have something with broad geopolitical.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for
in my pants.
All right, a few more films to cover before we wrap this out in the archival realm. Mark, I want to know seriously, how do you feel about Serial Mom? Because Scream Factory, the division of Shout Factory, has now released a collector's edition of John Waters' Serial Mom, with Kathleen Turner as the serial killing happy housewife. And this film really divides people, as most John Waters movies do. How do you feel about it?
John Waters has a new book out. And I think that might be part of the reason why this is coming out now, because there's some attention being paid to him. This was probably John Waters' last Watersy film, I would say. It was in 1994. His heyday obviously was, way earlier than that with Pink Flamingos and whatnot. Obviously, climaxing with Hairspray. I found this thing to be a little scattershot and a little bit mild. I felt like he was getting a little bit older and softer in his ability to be like really outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it almost feels like at times it feels like a guy who's pretending to be John Waters, but isn't John Waters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that knowing that you loved it.
This is my mother-in-law. I'm not kidding. I mean, she doesn't kill people, but this is my mother-in-law. And if she were if she were here, she would laugh, and then she would probably start trying to actually fulfill that. When at the beginning of this film, when she's being all 50s housewifey, and then the birds are singing, and she looks out and she goes, "Hooey, hooey." It's my mother-in-law. Just want to say, and I love her dearly, but she is serial mom, and that's not me saying that. Those are her kids.
You're out of your mind.
That's her family that says she's serial mom. Yes, indeed. From Olive, we got a bunch of stuff from Olive. Really, really interesting stuff from Olive this week. Ophelia from 1962. If you've never, now this is a really interesting merging of talents. Claude Chabrol directed this. This might be the first Claude Chabrol film on Blu-ray that I didn't do a commentary for. I feel like I've done like 20 Claude Chabrol commentaries over the years. This is Claude Chabrol working with material inspired by Shakespeare. And so you get one of those really interesting crossovers like you do oftentimes with Kurosawa, but in a much different way. It's still very, very Chabrolian. And it's moody, and the psychology of these characters and the way that it sort of imports Shakespearean archetypes into a contemporary situation is super, super interesting and creative. And it is some of Chabrol's most interesting stuff. The photography by Jean Rabier is just staggering. It is staggeringly beautiful and looks so good on Blu-ray. It is one of the most interesting Chabrol thrillers because he's clearly aware of that he's working from probably like Torment, L'Enfer, where he's working with material that was originally part, like the previous screenplay by Wages of Fear. Clouseau, yes. So he's working with a screenplay by Clouseau, so he pays homage to that, and he's very aware of the fact, and he doesn't overly Chabrol it. Same thing here. It's very much him, but it's also very much Shakespearean, and he's clearly aware of his resources and his sources, and he sort of melds himself into it in a very interesting way. It's a great film. It's a really terrific film. Then there's also Claude Chabrol, Jean-Luc Godard, Ugo Gregoretti, and Hiromichi Horikawa collaborating in one of those really cool kind of anthology efforts that were such a big deal in the 1960s in particular. This is probably best described as it is anthological, but it is also a little bit more like Babel, except it deals specifically with the global nature of swindles and cons, and it's a really interesting film. Amazing cast: Gene Seberg, Catherine Deneuve, Ken Mitsuda. Great cinematography by some of the best cinematographers who've ever lived, including Raoul Coutard, Jean Rabier, we just mentioned, and Asakazu Nakai. Really fascinating film. The world's most beautiful swindlers. Long forgotten, but very interesting. And then a bunch of Valerian Borachik releases. Valerian Borachik, the Beast director. He just really out there and a very aggressive director whose work is not quite that well known. Kind of exploitation-y, kind of artsy. Sits in a really strange place in the 1960s. It's just nobody like him. And we get Goto, Isle of Love, which might be his actual best film, the most interesting film artistically that he ever made. Shot in black and white and really very haunting and creepy. And not very, it dates well. It ages very, very well. We also have Blanche with Ligia Branice. And this is a medieval French tale takes place in the household of a baron, and it's very, very dark and kind of gets inside your nerves. Beautiful photography as well. This is in color. This is from 1971. He's moving kind of more into a much more modernistic style. And then there is Theater of Mr. and Mrs. Cabal. I'm sort of less enthused by this. This is kind of he's dabbling in animation, and it's really very dated animation. I don't. It doesn't really work for me. It's kind of it's a bit of a more an experiment. It's very avant-garde animation. If you it's worth checking out if you're a fan of his. And then lastly, the short films collection, Valerian Borachik short films, which includes stuff like The Astronauts and Angels Games and The Phonograph. And this is interesting only if you already know what you're getting into. A lot of this is also very, very experimental. There's some animation here as well, which kind of sets the table for the Theater of Mr. and Mrs. Cabal. And that's about it. So that's Valerian Borachik. And that's what we have from Olive this month.
I like Olive. I like watching their films. I like eating their delicious green Mediterranean fruits.
Mark, we're going to talk about the last four here, which are from the Warner Archive collection. And I've got some mixed feelings about some of these films, so I'm going to let you kind of balance me out here. Ride the High Country with Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea is considered one of the all-time great westerns of its genre. Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea, obviously longtime staples of the western genre. Sam Peckinpah directed this, and I don't think that this is the best Peckinpah film. I think it's Peckinpah sort of trying to step into somebody else's shoes and trying to make somebody else's kind of western. It doesn't feel like a Peckinpah western so much to me. Do you have any great opinion about Ride the High Country?
I like Ride the High Country. It is definitely not Peckinpah's best film. I mean, if you were to think of something like what's the quintessential Peckinpah film, you would not think it's Ride the High Country.
No, it's a Wild Bunch. Wild Bunch is a quintessential Peckinpah. Yeah. That's it. And this doesn't. And maybe that's just because I'm holding him to too high of a standard. I mean, this can't be. This is 1962. He's making this sort of in the moment of when westerns are a very particular thing, but it doesn't. It still feels like he's copying to somebody else's style, and a lot of people love this movie. It's a beautiful Blu-ray, but I just don't. I don't really respond to it so much, and it's not even my favorite Randolph Scott film. In any case, it has some interesting special features. A featurette called A Justified Life, Sam Peckinpah and the High Country, which is good, and then there's a commentary with Peckinpah biographers Nick Redman, Paul Sedur, Garner Simmons, and David Weddle. Nick Redman, of course, we should also point out, is one of the Twilight Time principals. Really, really smart guy. And then Spencer's Mountain, Henry Fonda, Maureen O'Hara, Delmer Daves movie. I'm not a big fan of Delmer Daves either. This is beautiful to look at. The only thing that I think really makes this interesting is wonderful music by Max Steiner, and it has kind of a kinship with the Waltons because it's based on the memoirs of Earl Hamner as well. So, if you accept that this sort of has a lineage that goes to the Waltons as a TV series, then I guess there's something interesting in it. But otherwise, it just feels like a kind of a routine Delmer Daves movie to me. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have not.
Okay.
No, I have not.
And then as long as we're on the subject of Henry Fonda and Glenn Ford in The Rounders, which is okay. They are better than the movie, directed by Burt Kennedy. This is from 1964. It's kind of a star vehicle with two guys who really made a go of westerns, and they're just kind of going through the motions here. It's not a particularly great film, but it's fun to watch those two stars. And then you have something there.
This is an odd little movie, 36 Hours. It's a little like, imagine like, I don't know, Manchurian Candidate or Seconds or The Twilight Zone. It's got a weird little funky thing going on. It's with James Garner, and he plays it's during World War II, and he has information about the invasion of Normandy. So the Germans capture him, they drug him, and they make him believe that the war has been over for 6 years. and they were asking him about the invasion of Normandy. Because it's going to happen in real life, but they have
That's
convinced him
interesting.
through drugs that the war's been over actually for 6 years. So when they ask him about it, he's deciding, should he do it? Is there something wrong? Am I crazy? Should I give them information? But the war's over, but is it really over? So it's got that weird, like, Seconds, Manchurian Candidate, Twilight Zone thing going on. So it's definitely kind of an interesting little movie. It's with Eva Marie Saint plays a nurse in it, and I would call this sort of like a war film noir.
Nice.
And, so I think 36 Hours is it's this big, gigantic con game against James Garner in the middle of the war.
Awesome.
So I thought it was kind of cool.
All right. Well, that is it. James Garner, Eva Marie Saint, 36 Hours. Warner Archive Collection. All right, Mark. We'll be, you know what? Next week, we may not be back next week.
What?
It's Mother's Day next week.
Oh,
So,
mommies.
So it is unforeseen what next week will bring. So there may not be a show next week. So just so everybody knows. But if there isn't, we will be back the following week. We will let everybody know on the Facebook page. If you need to get to us, gods@digigods.com.